Well, in the first few years after 1990, first few years, it was a few years, I was getting information about how the people that appeared to run the world weren't actually the people that ran the world. There was something behind them with a very dark and demonic agenda for humanity. But then the second phase started, which is what was behind them, and I reached the understanding by this time that there was what I call the global cult. It's a global network of secret societies, satanic groups, semi-secret organizations, which have an interlocking leadership, and it's centrally dictated ultimately. But the great majority of people, even within that network, are compartmentalized away or from this leadership, which operates in the shadows. But what I was looking at as you know, you asked the question, okay, this is going on. When did this bloody thing start? Mm-hmm. And you can take it back. You can take it back through Rome. You can take it back to Egypt, to Babylon, to Sumer, and you can take it back into history in other parts of the world. But then you've got this situation, which I looked at, which is, okay, you've got this network, which is gradually expanded out of certain areas of the world to become a global network. But you've got people being born and you've got people dying in this network. And then you've got other people being born and other people dying. So there's people coming and going, but there has to be a common theme. There has to be some coordinating force that spans this whole thing. Mm. And when I started looking at ancient and native legends and accounts of history in all different parts of the world, I started to see some very clear themes. And that was of a non-human force that was manipulating human society from the hidden. And of course, from the perspective of what we can see, visible light, almost the entirety of infinite existence is hidden to us. We can see next to nothing. I don't think that's an accident, personally. And so I started looking at this, and you know, the more you look at the religions and the non-religions, the other accounts outside of formal religion, the more you realize that actually, you know, they may seem to be different, and you know, in some ways they are. But what's compelling is how much they're telling the same story. So, for instance, Christianity calls this non-human force manipulating human society demons or demonic. Islam calls them the jinn. The Zulus call them the Chitahuri. And then you've got the Gnostic people who left some incredible writings in an earthen jar that were found in 1945, which was supposed to be left around, put in the jar about 400 AD, around that time. In Egypt, and found about 75, 80 miles north of Luxor in 1945. And they tell the story of what they call the archons, which is Greek for rulers. And they talk about the fact that these rulers operate from the hidden. And this, and what I found compelling, I've got the books up there with all the translations of these texts, known as the Nag Hammadi Library now. The Nag Hammadi was the place where they were found. And they described the fact that this non-human force had created a fake reality. We were living in a fake reality. And prime reality, if you like, real reality, is beyond the illusion of the fake reality. And I'm kind of reading this stuff. And I've concluded just around the turn of the millennium, and I've been thinking about it for a while before, but it really hit me. This is how it is. That we live in some form of simulation, like the Matrix movies. It's a simulation based on information which we decode. It's not a physical construct. It's an information source, and just like when you're playing computer games, you put on the headset and the earphones and the gloves if it's sophisticated. And you start decoding a different source of information to what you were before, but it can be incredibly real to people. So when I started looking at these Nag Hammadi texts and what they were saying about this fake reality, I'm kind of reading, through it, and I'm thinking, if you take what they're saying and you apply that to the technological world today that we're aware of, and the technology that we're aware of is nothing like the technology that's waiting to come out from the hidden, from the underground bases and the secret projects. But even if you look at the technology we know today, what the Gnostics were actually describing was a simulation, a fake reality, an illusory reality. And so I then started seeing this other common theme, which was of some form of genetic manipulation of the human body. Because I think before this whole hijack started, I think humanity was a very different entity. I think the breadth of our visual reality and the connection, the expansion of consciousness connection that we had before then, or what we call humans had before then, was phenomenally different to now. But if you want to hijack a race, a society, whatever, then you don't want people in states of expanded consciousness. In fact, that's the last thing you want. You want them in a state of perceptual myopia. And so you start seeing, well, I mean, the Bible's the most famous one, the sons of God, which really from the original is the sons of the gods, plural, interbred with the daughters of men. But you see the same theme elsewhere of this, interbreeding, or was it interbreeding, or was it something much more technologically advanced, the kind of stuff we're starting to see now, even in the human world. But anyway, whichever it was, my feeling is that from what I've looked at this all these years, is that the human form was changed, and it's like if you are creating a fake reality with a source of information. I mean, if you look at the Matrix movies, I mean, I say thank God, whatever there was the motivation behind them, thank God for the Matrix movies, because it's a real visual representation of what I'm talking about. What happens is you've got your Neos and your Morpheuses, and they are operating outside the Matrix, and they go into the Matrix by having their brain connected to an information source, because that's what the Matrix is. It's an information source which we decode into what appears to be a reality that's like we experience it. And but just as in the Matrix movies, they had to be locked in to that information source to experience the Matrix, so we have to decode this information. And I think that the human body, what I call the biological computer, has been tinkered with way back now to decode this information source. Because if you take the question, why don't we see more than we do? Well, why does the Chinese computer system not see more of the internet than it does? Because it's firewalled off. It cannot decode it. And when I first realized a long time ago now, the laughable narrow band of frequency that we can see, what they call visible light, I thought, well, I can't believe that's natural. I can't believe that's just happened. It's so ridiculously narrow. It's pathetic. But if you want to target and control through perceptual myopia a whole population, which is just consciousness incarnate, if you like, then you don't want a massive expansion of awareness. You want as myopic as you can get. And then there's this what they call Fermi paradox, where you look at the night sky and you see that explosion of lights, And you think, well, what we're looking at is a tiny, 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 tiny smear of the greater universe, or so we're told. We should be interacting with non-human entities all the time. We should be sharing information with them. We should be interacting with them. I mean, crikey, where are they? That's the Fermi paradox. What, where are all these other races and expressions of infinite awareness when we see all those lights? And we, like I say, just seeing a fraction of what there is to see. But again, if you're creating a matrix, a fake reality, to put the human race into a completely myopic state, then you don't want a situation where your target population is interacting with benevolent non-human races and sharing information with them. You don't want that. And so what you want, and this is very interesting because it comes into what's happening now currently in this COVID nonsense. You want your target population to have a sense of isolation, to be alone. You don't want the interaction. And so for me, what we call extraterrestrial experiences that people have, I think the part of it is are malevolent entities that represent this archontic consciousness, which is a very distorted state of awareness. Hence, it acts as it does. But also, I think it's benevolent ones that come into this matrix to interact and then leave. But generally, of course, we don't see anything.
There are many ways we unknowingly are treated as slaves in today's society. The deep state agenda, which is behind government, states and systems, want to remove all freedom as they thrive on our energy and powers. Footsteps for Freedom: How We Have Been Tricked to Slavery is an extensive book in which we explore some of the traps and ways we are hijacked, deceived, spellcast and programmed to stay in the matrix. Get it for free on holyland.me/freedom book. That is WHOLYLAND.me/FREEDOMBOOK.